Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on, y'all? For those of y'all that do not know me, my name is Rico, and I want to welcome you to the Dynamic One Show. Basically, what this is going to be about, we're going to be talking about all things sports related in terms of the NFL, NBA, and college football. For this episode, this is going to be the first one, so if you're seeing this, I appreciate your support. If you can just go ahead and do me a favor, go ahead and drop a like, subscribe, comment below. Like I said, this video is going to be about college football, so we're going to be talking about the second week of rankings and some of the matchups and stuff that we got going on, what happened last week. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen this upcoming week in college football. Y'all think it's going to be an upset? Y'all think it's going to be pretty much just chalk? What do you guys think about the rankings coming out so far? Let me know in the comments below. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So as you could go ahead and tell from these weekends from the previous week in week one, like I said, you got a lot of the powerhouses that are currently sitting at the top of the rankings. You know, Alabama, Ohio State to start out, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, Notre Dame, all these top teams that are going through. And then you go through the rest of the rankings. Some surprises with Oregon sitting at 11 in my opinion, but after that game last week, maybe there is some cause for concern. Maybe they should have been ready to start with, seeing as they got blasted by the defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs, who looked like, you know, the top team in the country. Granted, they lost a lot of people to the draft last year, but at the same time, they just went ahead and reloaded and just came out swinging, punched them straight in the mouth, and walked out of Atlanta with a W, even though that was supposed to be a neutral site game. You kind of saw a lot of red in those stands, all right? That's just kind of how that is. Not really too much going on as far as like upsets. As far as the rankings go, at least from that week one, a lot of it kind of stayed true to chalk for the most part. Nothing too crazy. Biggest thing you looking at, Pittsburgh played a really good game against West Virginia. That game was pretty close all the way out up until that last sequence of events with the last few plays. Kentucky was looking really good last week. Cincinnati did lose to Arkansas, so that's, you know, one top 25 team that did lose this past week. And then, like I said, looking at the rest of the rankings and stuff from week one, you kind of see how everything that went. Then you jump into week two, and things changed up a little bit. Not too much, but just a little bit here. Right now, you look at Michigan making that jump from 8 to 4. I said earlier that I feel like they are going to be on a collision course with Ohio State at the end of the year, with those two battling it out for a spot in the Big Ten title game. Because, I mean, looking at the way these two teams played, I mean, that's the Big Ten for you. That's how they are. Michigan does have a bit of a quarterback situation going on. I know they're starting two different quarterbacks, one last week and one this week. I think as the old saying goes, if you have two quarterbacks and you have none. So I hope Jim Harbaugh kind of knows what he's doing out there. Otherwise, you might have a situation on your hands, though. You look at some of these other guys that moved up in the rankings and stuff like that. Oklahoma pretty much moved up a couple spots. Notre Dame dropped after losing to Ohio State. Georgia moves up to 2, and not too much of a surprise. Ohio State drops. Clemson did drop a spot. Now, I want to talk about that game real quick. I know they played Georgia Tech. Looking at their team as a whole, I said this to a couple of my friends on my Facebook page. I wasn't really too impressed with Clemson. Like, I look at what DJ did last year. You know, that first game they played against Georgia, that was a defensive masterpiece. Because the only touchdown that was scored was off the defensive side of the ball from Georgia. And I think that was a 10-3 game that sealed it. Looking at Georgia and the way they played last year and looking at this year is crazy. But also looking at Clemson, I'm not really too impressed with them. The defense was pretty stout. You know, the defensive line was giving Georgia Tech fits. It is different to see Georgia Tech going from a triple option from what I'm used to seeing to, you know, one of those more pro-style offenses. So that's kind of a different sight for me to see. Clemson isn't really going to do it for me. I feel like they need to kind of get their act together as far as the quarterback play with DJ Uiagalelei, who had a pretty good game, but he was struggling at times. That offensive line did let a couple of sacks go through, so you got to wonder about that, if they're going to be able to fix that throughout the year and make sure everything is okay with that, all right? Same with Texas A&M. I looked at the team they played, Sam Houston. You really think that they would have had, more of a stranglehold on that game and been up a lot more. But a lot of the drives, they weren't really able to move the ball. They were punting or, getting stopped, things like that. And I'm sitting here looking like this is the Texas A&M team that a lot of people are picking to possibly win the SEC. I'm looking at you, Desmond Howard, who picked them to go all the way to the national championship, if I'm not mistaken. If you see this video at any point in time, I don't need to have a talk with you, sir, because that's not happening. I'm sorry. Looking at Texas A&M, I told some of my friends if Sam Houston had an offense, I was at one point concerned that they were going to be ahead in that game. I had a good inkling that they were going to be ahead of that game if they actually had a good offense and were able to move the ball down the field. They were doing a lot of the run game and stuff like that, trying to move, outside zones, things like that. But when you have players of that caliber from the SEC that you're playing against, you're not going to be doing too much. And then they weren't really able to get the ball down the field. But again, for me, Texas A&M just doesn't seem like that team to me that will be one of those teams that is going to be walking out of the SEC. Mainly because, like I said, looking at that game, I just don't see how they're going to be able to do it. I could be wrong, but Texas A&M, y'all got to prove it to me that y'all are one of those teams that are going to be able to go out every week and actually dominate these opponents like you're supposed to, all right? Looking at USC, I look at them as the only shot that the Pac-12 has at making the college football playoff, because you look at what Oregon did, laying I don't even know what to call it, just an abysmal showing against a powerhouse that is Georgia. You look at what they got in Caleb Williams. They got Addison from Pitt. They got Lincoln Riley in the fold. Everybody's talking about, USC is going to be back. Y'all got to show me first. This is the first time, in my opinion, that the team's been relevant in a long time, because over the past few years, there hasn't really been much going on with this team. And you look at what they're doing now, they got their quarterback, they got the receiver. Everybody's looking at them to be that team to be in the Pac-12. Again, I got to see it. I got to see it. If you're not going to be out there every day putting up 50, 60 points against a lot of these teams and showing me that you are capable of winning these games, it's not going to do anything for me. Because like I said, the Pac-12 has only sent one representative to the college football playoff since its inception, and that was Washington. That's about it. I don't know what else to say. USC, you on the clock. And like I said, I know y'all are moving to the Big Ten in a couple years with conference realignment and everything happening, but hey, we'll see how it plays out. Kind of getting through the rest of this, looking at Florida going from unranked to 12 after beating Utah in the swamp, which was a pretty good game for Florida. So good for y'all. Utah dropped a few spots down to 13. Some movement. NC State did drop. Wisconsin dropped as well. Kentucky kind of stayed pat. With that matchup with Kentucky and Florida coming up this week, that's going to be a pretty good matchup. I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. Houston dropped a little bit. Tennessee's in the top 25 now. You look at the SEC representing, as always. Arkansas moved up a good bit. And you look into the top 25 right now. It's shaping up right now. It's early. You got a lot of those powerhouses that are in the top 10, top 15. But, once conference play starts to happen, I know for some teams they've already gotten into conference play. But once it starts, things going to be a little bit different. Kind of going into some of the matchups real quick for this week. There's not too many top 25 matchups going on. I know the biggest one that I can think of off the top of my head is that Kentucky game against Florida. I really like what Kentucky has to offer. I know people talking about Will Levis as that quarterback that could be going in the first round in the NFL draft this year. Who knows? We'll see. And then I think Kentucky can pull off the upset, personally. You never know what's going to happen, but I think in SEC, with the East coming out the way it is, I really do think that Kentucky will be able to pull it out against Florida. And then you got another top 25 matchup with Pitt and Tennessee. Call me an SEC fan. Granted, you see the shirt. You see the shirt. I would think that Tennessee has a good chance to pull off an upset in this game. Just kind of looking at the way Pitt played last week. That defensive line was getting after him, but I just like what Tennessee has to offer. And, I say it's going to be a close game. I think if I'm going to give a prediction for the Tennessee-Pitt game, I'm going to say 31-28. And then for the Kentucky-Florida game, I will say 27-20. There you go. Just to kind of give you a couple of predictions of what I think is going to happen. So that's kind of how I see that going. But as far as that goes, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the first episode of the Dynamic One Show. If you can just leave a like on the video, subscribe, share the video. Again, let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen this week with college football as far as some of the matchups, the rankings, things like that. If you think there's going to be an upset, hit me up, let me know. We'll get into it next week. And until next time, I'll see y'all later. Peace out.